So
Yeah.
the next point we have here is we're seeing a lot of large US retail companies start mass layoffs all at the same time. So the most notable ones from what I've seen are Twitter, who's got 4,400 employees, which is roughly 50% of its workforce. Facebook / 11,000 employees, which is 13% of its workforce, and Amazon, who are planning to cut as many as 10,000 employees. And there's plenty more all happening around at the same time. If you just look at Forbes or just look at Google or something, you'll find a lot of companies doing the same thing. So when you see a mass exodus like this, then clearly something's brewing that we must be missing. So what do you think all these companies are seeing that majority of people might not be?
So what I'm seeing with this, and it's not just the online companies, it's the offline retail as well. So we're seeing Walmart, Target in the US, Lowe's, the Home Depot, FedEx is even cutting back on some people. Now FedEx is, the number one carrier. It's FedEx and UPS are the number one carriers for Amazon parcels outside of the Amazon network, and Jeff Bezos is building his own network to bring a lot of that in-house. Now, what these guys do is they're at the pointy end of retail spending, right? Mum and dad spend. The government figures come out 3-6 months after it's actually happened. So what we're seeing by all these layoffs and the restructures of all these retail firms, and when I say retail, I'm talking about hospitality, hotels, everything, because they're all doing the restructuring, is they know that spending's off. In America, they know spending is way off, and it's only going to get worse with the shortages, the inflation, everything that's happening now, the interest rate rises in the US. It is the US is in recession. I don't believe it'll go into depression, but I do believe it'll be a long, drawn-out recession, very similar to probably the 90s. Late after the 87 crash. Now, will the US bounce back? Of course, but what they're seeing is the country's in recession. So forget what the government's telling you, forget what everything is. The US is now in recession. We're seeing similar things here in Australia, right? We're seeing retail companies and that slowly change the way that they work. One of the other things I saw the other day was Starbucks closed 300 stores worldwide, in a week. So that they know globally there's stuff happening. So Westfield is restructuring the way that they run their shopping centres. Some of our major retailers are just cutting positions because they can't fill them, so they're cutting them. They're reducing hours. They're restructuring how they operate. So expect more push to online in places like Australia rather than that, especially because in Australia, we're in a weird position here because our government spent a lot of money during COVID to keep people feeling happy and wealthy. Now, the people aren't spending a lot of money overseas, so we're going to have a greater divergence of our recession. We will head towards one if we not are already verging on one now, but our mining and our resources and our infrastructure pushed by government will keep the spending merry-go-round going here a lot longer. And that's why I always say, make sure if you're in business, make sure you're in something that's essential where people will spend or governments will spend, and you can keep yourself going through the hard times. In Europe, same thing's happening over there. Large companies putting off people. I expect Europe to go through really, really, really harsh winter and a very harsh economic environment coming out of the winter, going into next year.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking for signs of the economy, you just have to look at what the big players are doing, because it kind of, what's happening now, it reminds me a little bit of when COVID was just starting, how you had a lot of CEOs and top business owners pulling out, and like appointing new directors and stuff, so they knew what was coming, and seems like something familiar is happening.
100%. Always, the one thing you do if you want to know what's really happening in the economy, don't read the central bank figures or the Bureau of Statistics figures. Read the AFR. You know, read the Australian Financial Review, or watch what happens on like the Bloomberg ticker and all that sort of stuff with the news, and you'll see a trend. Like, you don't have to believe the news, but watch the trend. So whenever you're looking at this sort of stuff, the trend is your friend, right? If one firm's hiring, that's not a trend. If 20 firms are hiring, that's a trend. The market's going up. If one firm's putting off, they could be restructuring. If 100 firms are putting people off, that's a big trend. Follow it, right? And watch what's happening. So pick up those bits and pieces in the news. If you subscribe to some of the PR or the press release news sites like PR Newswire, or even on the stock market, one of the things that I do is I have the companies that I watch, and then I have their press releases come straight to me when there's a new announcement on the stock market. I go on to a website like the Market Herald and just scroll through the company announcements for the day. You'll get to see the trend of the day, and then if you do that over several weeks, you'll get to see the trends that are happening. That's how you work out what's happening in the economy.